Honorable Union Minister, Dr. Jitendra Singh ji, and all my fellow secretaries, Principal Scientific Advisor to the Government of India, Professor Ajay Sood, Secretary DBT, Dr. Rajesh Gokhale, MOES Secretary, Dr. Ravi Chandran, DSIR Secretary, Dr. Kalai Selvi, all the distinguished guests and my media friends. I'll just give you a brief overview of what has been the achievement of the Department of Science and Technology in the last years. The Department of Science and Technology is one of the nodal ministries for the extramural funding across academic institutions. It has spearheaded research and innovation in the country, build R&D infrastructure, and also strengthen the India's global leadership. In last 11 years, we have spearheaded 5 key national missions, and I will talk about them. Have transformed the scientific infrastructure landscape through the development of this infrastructure across academic institutions, universities, and research labs. Nurtured scientific talent and developed human capacity right from school level innovation to supporting women in science, enabled the innovation and deep tech innovation ecosystem and entrepreneurship through our incubators and startup support schemes, and elevated the India's position in global science through strategic collaborations and participation in several mega science projects. In terms of human capacity building, we led a flagship program, which is Innovation in Science Pursuit for Inspired Research, that is INSPIRE program, which has several components at school level, Manak, undergraduate scholarship, SHE, PhD fellowships, and faculty fellowships. And in the last 11 years, we have supported close to 8,000 PhD fellowships, more than 1 lakh undergraduate fellowships, about 1,282 faculty fellowships, and more than 7 lakhs school level innovation students. The Department of Science and Technology also runs a very flagship Women in Science program. There are several components of this. The details are there in the booklet that has been provided to all of you. But to summarize, we have supported 5,000 women scientists either through the postdoctoral or doctoral research programs. Also at the school level, through the Vigyan Jyoti program, 82,000 plus girls have been supported to study STEM education. And through our Curie program, we have supported several women-specific institutions. As I mentioned, we, in the last 11 years, we had several key missions. One, of course, jointly with Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, we were part of National Supercomputing Mission, which has established the India's supercomputing network. Then, the national mission on cyber physical system. We have set up 25 mission hubs across the country, and now in the last 1 year, we have upgraded 4 of them to the technology translational research parks. We have also set up 4 mission hubs in quantum computing, quantum communications, quantum sensing, and quantum materials and devices. And as a part of our national quantum mission, we have also supported 8 startups which have been working in various areas of quantum technology. The National Quantum Mission supports 14 technical groups and more than 150 researchers across more than 40 institutions in the country. We are a part of National Action Plan on Climate Change, and under which we led 2 national missions, one on sustaining the Himalayan ecosystem and other one on strategic knowledge for climate change. And in both these missions, we have contributed to building knowledge support, funding climate research, and generating knowledge networks and information systems. As all of you know that in 2021, the government of India liberalized the geospatial sector through the geospatial guidelines, and the national geospatial policy, which was approved by the cabinet in 2022, set the vision for using mapping and location data in governance and development. So this was a key reforms which was undertaken in the geospatial sector, not only in terms of liberalizing the geospatial sectors, but also reforming the survey of India. The National Geospatial Mission subsequently was announced in this budget, and we are now in the process of getting the cabinet approvals for that to implement many of the objectives of the national geospatial policy. In terms of technology translation and innovation ecosystem, Department of Science and Technology was one of the important ministry for nurturing the startup ecosystem in the country. When the Honorable Prime Minister gave a clarion call of Startup India in 2016, the DST launched the Nidhi program, that is National Initiative for Developing and Harnessing Innovations. Through this program, we have supported 9 centers of excellence, 39 technology business incubators, and 48 inclusive technology business incubators. And through these incubators, we have supported more than 5,000 startups, which has led to 30,000 plus job creations. And as you know that almost all of these startups is in the technology areas. There are several components of the Nidhi: the entrepreneurship in residence, the seed support program, the Prayas and all of them have been hugely popular among the first generation entrepreneurs. Both premier academic institutions as well as universities. For example, in terms of through FIST program, we have supported 400 institutions and 1,100 departments in terms of facility creations. In PERS program, we have supported 91 universities for their R&D infrastructures. We also launched a very flagship program 3 years back of Sathi, which is created a national level facility. In terms of international science collaborations, we have several bilateral and multilateral collaborations, and I will not go in details of this, but I would just like to point out some of the mega science project of which India is a consortium partner, and Department of Science and Technology has enabled this. For example, 30-meter telescope, square kilometer array, FAIR, CERN, LIGO, and now a national solar telescope will also come up. In science heritage and initiatives, we have been supporting bridging traditions with technology, and under these programs, we have supported several thematic centers. We have funded indigenous technology for protection of heritage structures and also for reviving heritage through science and innovations. Finally, as you know that the establishment of Anusandhan National Research Foundation was a very transformative step. And it will primarily encourage the private sector to scale up research and development in the sunrise domains.
Principal Scientific Advisor, Professor Sood, Dr. Kalai Selvi, Dr. Ravi Chandran, Dr. Abhay, Dr. Rajesh, and of course, our Principal DG Ojha Sahab, members of the fraternity, also officials of all the different departments falling under the Ministries of Science and Technology and the Ministry of Earth Science, and of course, more importantly, the media friends who are here to actually make us feel reassured that science does find a space in media now, which was perhaps not easily seen till a few years ago. So I think there's been presentations made by each of the secretaries that makes my task easier, and at the risk of being repetitive and taking your time, I will not get into all that because it's already been very elaborately put out before you. So from a different perspective, I think if you ask me to sum up, I would sum up saying that the last 11 years turned technology as the engine of India growth story. And that's there for anyone to see with evidence. Also, the last 10 years turned India into a technology leader rather than a technology follower. And thirdly, the last 10 years also saw India coming out with global best practices for others to follow, instead of waiting to adopt the best practices developed by others. So I think these three sentences sum up about all. And this has been possible largely because after 2014 we had a political dispensation which was very enabling, which was very supportive. And I think what the scientist needs the most is the liberty to experiment, even sometimes at the risk of not being as successful as envisaged. And that was allowed to us by the Honorable Prime Minister, whether it was in the case of going out for private participation, even in departments like space and nuclear sector, or going out of way to involve even foreign collaborations and FDIs. Because we never lacked talent, we never lacked the potential, but perhaps what was lacking was a political dispensation and a supportive approach which happens from the level of the policy makers, and B, that we had refrained ourselves from following the global strategies which drove us into working in silos, unlike what is seen or witnessed in the other countries where there's no demarcation between the private and the public sector. Now, this has also given huge importance to all these science departments that you see over here. And as I was saying, it's also generated interest in the media and the people outside these departments. And they put it in a different way. In fact, when I came here and when Ravi Chandran joined, I asked him, I sometimes feel like doing a survey on the streets of Delhi, give them a performance and ask them where on earth is the Department of Earth Sciences. I don't know how many people would know that. But today I'm glad people come looking and ask, where is Prithvi Bhavan? So that is the kind of... Now similarly, the Department of Biotechnology had been dumped behind ITBP. So when you went looking for him, you came across all the uniformed cops. So your first reaction would be that you landed at a wrong place. Today, young boys and girls are demanding that we need to have a proper address because we want to avail of BIRAC, we want to avail of the startups. We were just 50 startups in 2014. Now they are more than 10,000, 11,000. So that is the visibility. Similarly, Department of Science and Technology has its own technology bhavan now, a huge complex befitting of the kind of work that they are doing at Mehroli. They are no longer confined to a small section. And of course, CSIR, I need not say, we introduced a program called 1 Week, 1 Lab. She presides over 37 labs and the PSU, but hardly anything was known about it. In fact, when we started involving public engagement with each of the labs, and I would say, let the people talk about us, what they think. And one of the places where we had a farmers' interaction, because the institute was dedicated more to the agri schemes, they came out with some hilarious observations. Some of them said, we used to pass by this gate, we didn't know what is happening. If we asked the passerby, he said, don't ask, andar mendak kaate jate hain. Lab hai. Somebody said the ghosts dance in the night. So we have opened up, all the 37 labs opened up, so that people can now see that Dr. Kalai Selvi presides over a huge empire, I think next only to that of Queen Victoria. So this visibility is not only to showcase ourselves or to give us some kind of a satisfaction out of publicity, whatever has happened, but also that we have reached out to the stakeholders. So that is something which was not mentioned in any of the earlier presentations. Today we are very much linked with those for whom these gentlemen and gentle ladies work, and those who have to avail of us. So we are much, much closer now through these interactive programs. Now we have also launched one theme 1 week, so that all the institutes working on a similar theme come together in an integrated fashion. And that is the global strategy which is followed by the successful nations. Then the other highlight or the hallmark has been that most of these departments have tried to explore areas which were hitherto unexplored. Today, we've reached from 10th to 4th economy. But as members of the scientific fraternity, we are not expected simply to romantically and fancifully keep saying we'll be number one, we'll be number one. That might suit others. We are expected to come out with scientific evidence about what is the roadmap. And if you scientifically try to ponder over it, the roadmap is to explore those areas which have not been explored earlier or have remained underexplored, or the sectors, the regions. That only will add value to bring us from 4 to 3 and subsequently to 2 and 1. And I'm glad, and that's, I think, I know how far we have noticed. Department of Biotechnology, and look at, have you ever realized what were the greatest assets, natural assets of India, resource pool, which unfortunately remained underexplored for the last 70 years? One is biodiversity. We keep saying, unity in diversity, unity in diversity, unity in diversity, without even understanding what it is all about. But have we ever made a virtue out of this diversity? This diversity itself is our exclusive resource, not given to any other country in the world, where you have very homogeneous composition, both resource-wise and otherwise. And for the first time, I'm glad this biodiversity is being explored by the Department of Biotechnology, headed by Dr. Rajesh Gokhale. And as was being mentioned, this is going to be the foundation of the next industrial revolution. We are already into it, as he was mentioning, with institutionalized policies like BioE3. So we have already started moving in that direction. And this resource is going to add value to our future economic growth. The second factor, the second area which remained underexplored for 7 decades was our ocean resource. We have 11,000 kilometer long coastal area. We have almost 12 states residing on the banks of the oceans. We have an ocean called Indian Ocean by the name of the country, which no other has. But we never looked into it, we never peeped into it. The first time, huge resource of minerals, metals, fisheries. When the minerals and fisheries on the surface of Earth get exhausted, saturated, where are you going to add value to? How do you reach from 4 to 1? This is, so Dr. Ravi Chandran's department has started exploring that. And third, natural resource only given to India. Like I said, biodiversity 1, oceans 2, and the third, again, not exactly realized for almost 7 days, the Himalayas. And I'm glad Dr. Kalai Selvi's department has started looking into Himalayas. This purple revolution emanating from Himalayas is becoming a new genre of agri-startups, a new genre of livelihood, and a very lucrative livelihood, also exploding the Western myth that to be a startup you have to be an IT man, to be a startup you have to be a PhD. Many of our startups are not even graduates, and that is indigenous startup emanating from the lap of Himalayas. So these 3 major sectors which had remained underexplored or unexplored for the last 7 decades are now getting explored by these 3 departments. And this is exactly going to add value when we reach economy number 1. Then in the process, as I said, this has also led to the discovery of the talent which had hitherto remained undiscovered. Because we had so many myths, like I said, the startup has to be an IT, startup has to be a very great scientist. Many of these success stories which were being narrated by Dr. Kalai Selvi are hardly any scientists. They can't, I think, even write the spelling of science, yes, but they have an aptitude for technology. They have an aptitude for passion for the technology, and they are very good learners. The other notable feature of these last few years has been that we have worked in the true spirit of cooperative federalism, which the policymakers keep saying, and science departments are not expected to be a part of it. We are indeed. Our science councils under Dr. Abhay Karindikar have become much, much more active now. There were times in these states, no civil servant would like to be a science secretary, because he would always keep waiting to be transferred to an else, the department, and therefore the departments would remain neglected. Now realizing, now we have aligned those technologies with public welfare programs, which has given esteem, whether it's a Swamitva program, whether it's a Jal Jeevan mission, whether it's your soil health agriculture schemes. All these schemes, because of their close alignment with technology, the science departments in these states have also started collaborating. And lastly, because I said I won't be repetitive, I'll just give one each global best practice emanating from each of the departments and being emulated by the rest of the world. And as I said, we have learned to speak with evidence, so this can also be verified by anyone. A, the best practice from the Department of Biotechnology, vaccine, the first ever DNA vaccine, now being emulated by the other countries. They are in fact wondering, a country hardly known for healthcare practices has come out to become a leader in the preventive healthcare. And B, a global best practice of successful gene trial in hemophilia, which is again a global problem. In fact, hemophilia was also once upon a time known as Queen's disease. In the earlier books, if you find 19th century textbooks of written by the British authors, because then after 1980 or so, the entire medicine and science shifted over, academics shifted over from Britain to America. So the earlier authors used to call it Queen's disease because one of the Queen Victoria's relatives had this. It emanated from there, it was worked upon there, deficiency of clotting factor 8, leading on to bleeding, uncontrolled. Many people would succumb to a bleeding if they had an accident or a trauma. The first gene trial successful has not happened where it was first reported. It has happened through the Department of Biotechnology with a trial conducted at Christian Medical College, Vellore, and it has been reported by none less than New England Journal of Medicine, which is among the oldest science journals, almost 200 years old. New England Journal of Medicine and the British Medical Journal, the two oldest journals emanating from the Great Britain. So that is the other global best practice. Now, for the Department of Science and Technology, the geospatial policy, lesser talked about, but it's emerged as a global practice. The Swamitva program is also greatly guided by this policy. And the world is wondering how a country as heterogeneous, as vast as India, is also a peninsula, it's also a Himalaya. It has also island territories. It has also got hill terrains. You could come out with a practice of mapping using drones and satellite images, and you have put the revenue officer out of job. You have made the farmer, the landowner, the master of his own destiny. And that is exactly the spirit of citizen-centric governance. As I said, we have aligned our technologies with the governance. So there is again a global practice which is to be followed. As far as the Ministry of Earth Sciences is concerned, way back in 2016 or 17, we came out with a satellite. Earlier, the idea was to name it SAR satellite, and of course it was not named because Pakistan refused to be a part of it, and of course that's their misfortune. But that satellite is now offering services, both the disaster predictions, disaster evaluation information to all the countries around. Neighbors First policy launched by Prime Minister Modi through the MEA is being supplemented by the Ministry of Earth Sciences. Whether it's Mongolia, it's Bangladesh, Nepal, Sri Lanka, the information being catered by this department through IMD has actually enhanced India's reach and emerged as a global practice. And similarly also, as was being mentioned briefly by Dr. Ravi Chandra, our forays into Antarctica are now also of a much superior quality compared to many other countries. In fact, we even went to the extent of performing yoga day before yesterday over there. among penguins and the ice. So, and I need not mention the CSIR global best practice is purple revolution and lavender. The other day, me and Dr. Ravi Chandran had the opportunity of visiting the oldest lavender, the perfume village called Grasse in France. We went there simply, and we have got you aligned with them. So the Consulate General will soon get in touch with you. So they are wondering that they had the perfume industry in France, but there was someone here who was also cultivating it in one bunkyard. So that is your global best. So ladies and gentlemen, without taking your time and without causing boredom to you, I will just try to spell out for your convenience some of the global best practices emanating from each of the departments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for very enlightening address. Now, I request 11 number to ask the question, please.
So we spoke about all aspects, especially after Operation Sindoor. National security, defense, satellite tech is something that has really been in the forefront, especially science that has happened around it. If you could briefly run us through about some of the things that are happening on that front, and while we have you here, if you could also give us an update about what's happening with the Axiom 4. Because the launch has been delayed for several times, so an update on that would also be helpful.
Yeah, incidentally, both the questions have not anything to do with the departments sitting over here, but I don't have the courage to disappoint someone like Soumya. So having said that, as far as the first part is concerned, of course, that was space technology and atomic energy, which had the opportunity to showcase itself, and all the technologies that came into play during those few hours and days were indigenous, developed in the last 10, 11 years, which could be verified. Even the TOTs had happened only the last 10 years. And therefore, I don't have to go in detail because that's a department doesn't need to be much discussed publicly. And I also don't indulge in talking out of turn, but I'm glad that both these departments had an opportunity to showcase what had happened in the last 10 years. And primarily in the times to come, the entire warfare will be related to these two areas of work. And second, as far as the Axiom is concerned, they are now into negotiation. They have decided to come out with the next date after a while, because we already have about 7 astronauts up there in the International Space Station. So they are also now negotiating with the respective countries. We have 2 from Russia over there. And I think soon, because they have, I'm glad they have decided not to put up a date and then not be able to stick to it. So they have very humbly said that they need to take some more time before they finally come out with a final date. But again, I think it's a matter of pride that of the 4 persons going there, the pivotal role is going to be played by Shubhanshu Shukla. A, because he's also a pilot, and B, also because he's going to perform some exclusive experiments, which again are going to be the global inferences for the rest of the world. And to connect it with today's press conference, I think Dr. Rajesh Gokhale's department has provided all the kits which will be used by Shubhanshu in carrying out those experiments at zero gravity, at microgravity, in the space, whether it's life sciences, trying to assess the impact on the cognitive functions, the faculties of an individual or a human being when you are expected to constantly look at the TV screen or the computer screen. Some of the effects on the muscles, because muscle dysfunction, so how do you strategize their prevention? And then also on the microorganisms in the extreme conditions. They have carried water bears, and also some of the plant experiments, at least on 6 different crops. And the Department of Biotechnology has actually entered into a formal MOU with the Department of Space. So they are equally involved in Axiom 4. You want to add to that?
Thank you, sir. 271.
Jacob Koshi from the Hindu newspaper, sir. 2 questions. One is biotechnology and one has to be something on space. But first question on biotechnology. the general, when you go back to our IT revolution or our startup cultures, a true test of a startup blooming is when it IPOs or it becomes significant public interest. So I wanted to understand from the DBT why the BIRAC has been established since 2012. When do we see a BIRAC-funded biotech startup hitting that IPO stage? And do you see are there any challenges that are obstructing it? And sir, second question is, 2 days back we learned that the SSLV, the small satellite launch vehicle, was the transfer tech was backed by the HAL. Now HAL is a very renowned company. It has got a lot of expertise in the field. It won by a fair tender. But sir, your government's your key thrust has been that promoting private sector participation in space. So now again we have just HAL, which has a long history, of course, but again it is another a PSU that is going to do something, and this goes back to our old tradition. So isn't this a bit of a step back from what you have kind of championed?
No, to take your second question first, though it's the conference doesn't deal with space. Actually, we need to also have a very robust, developed private sector. I agree with you to an extent, but the point is that we need to have private sector also developed with an equal pace to be a very active participant in the collaboration. So somewhere that gap is missing, possibly again because the policy earlier was not very favorably inclined to the private sector. It's only after Prime Minister Modi came in that started happening. Now, for example, we have opened up space to the private sector only in the last 4-5 years. So their capacity building has also started just now. Had it happened earlier, maybe they have. So we have lot many projects, I think, under Prime Minister Modi's government. So many projects, both in infrastructure and otherwise, have been rolled out. But we don't have the sufficient private sector acumen. You have 1 or 2 companies everywhere, you keep looking for that. So I think this is take time, because now there's a shift in the policy. Same is the case in nuclear sector also. Now that we have just announced this year, we'll come out with the rules. And then when the private sector understands that they are now expected to collaborate at a larger scale, they would also start building capacity for themselves. What did he say?
I think I would agree with you that one of the measure of success is an IPO in the market. But the second measure of success is also the equity valuation that actually companies have garnered over a period of time. And I'm sure you would appreciate that the biotech companies do take long time of incubation periods to be able to do these activities. And as I showed in my slide, more than 7,000 crores have been raised by the BIRAC companies, and these are outside, not companies outside I'm talking about, because there are not all of them are governed by BIRAC actually. Have in fact have raised more than 7,000 crores of equity in various mechanisms. In fact, one of the companies that you might have just read about raised about 1,300 crores actually for sugar alternative measurements actually in Telangana-based company. So there are several companies, that was just announced about a couple of days back. Actually.
No, I think the same what applies in case of space. It's good that your observation is quite appreciable. It's also way here. We've just now started opening up, without any inhibition or reservation to the private sector. But the private sector was not as prepared for this outreach by us. They never expected us to. So now, for example, when they came out with the first ever vaccine, DNA vaccine, which was, all the trials were done in this Faridabad institute, you hardly have 1 or 2 companies who would come forward to manufacture it. That's the point. Had we given them a signal about maybe 2 decades earlier, 30, that this is the direction that we are going to take, they might have had, so we'd hardly have choice. They have come out with the first ever indigenous antibiotic. Again, credit to them. I didn't mention it because I was talking only of the global practices. But for the first time, we have an antibiotic. The salt was developed here, trial was done here, and the manufacturing also. And it's called nephromycin, said to be very effective, particularly in resistant respiratory infections. Earlier on, all the salts came from outside. Again, we didn't have a company to come forward. They came across a company, of course, Mumbai-based, But to be very honest, they were not doing very well in the market, so they came forward to take this. So I think in course of time, and I'm sure that would happen because they have their own business stakes, and when they realize that they have opportunity, they would also come up to that level.
135 at the back. We'll come one by one to everybody.
Now they have come out with a host of vaccines. They have come out with a vaccine on HPV virus. Again, one or two companies. One, that South Indian company took the DNA vaccine. Now Pune company is taking the HPV. Soon they'll have a malaria vaccine. They are working on tuberculosis. You don't have the private parties actually to lap up what they have. They are offering. So, but I'm sure this will happen in course of time, sooner than later.
सर, मेरा नाम पीयूष पांडे है, मैं TV9 भारतवर्ष से हूँ। मंत्री जी से मेरा सवाल है, सर विभिन्न क्षेत्रों में मौसम के अलावा भी पूर्वानुमान संभव किया गया है। क्या भूकंप को लेकर के पूर्वानुमान लगाए जाने को लेकर कोई काम चल रहा है और इस दिशा में क्या कोई संभावना बनती है?
नहीं, आपका प्रश्न बड़ा उचित है। वैसे देश भर में नहीं बल्कि दुनिया भर में भी भूकंप को लेकर के कोई बहुत अधिक सक्षम कोई इस तरह की कोई प्रक्रिया नहीं है जिससे उसकी भविष्यवाणी की जा सके। लेकिन हाँ, भूकंप हो जाने के बाद डैमेज असेसमेंट या जो नुकसान हुआ उसके लिए हमारे पास बड़ा एक सक्षम व्यवस्था है और उसको लेकर के अब बहुत सारे यूनिट्स हमारे स्थापित भी किए गए हैं। डॉक्टर रवि, यू लाइक टू ऐड टू दैट?
As of now, there is no science to predict earthquake. But however, we are trying to do that earthquake. Suppose early earthquake warning. What we mean is, from the primary wave, if you have more observations from the primary wave, before coming the secondary wave when it comes, suppose that is a major disaster things. So we will be able to get a few seconds before.
But that also you can add that in the last few years you have set up a host of observatories across the country. So, from north to south.
So that's a more number of observations required. In Delhi itself, more than few, what is called more than 30, 40. So we will be able to tell you is better than other places, but we are aiming to go for, it is not only India, globally, we are trying to go for early earthquake warning prediction, maybe in the coming decades.
कभी मतलब ये ना समझिएगा कि पीयूष जी, अर्लियर का मतलब ये नहीं है कि होने से पहले जब शुरू हो जाए थरथराहट तो आपको वार करना कि बिल्डिंग से बाहर निकलो।
Before secondary wave, damaging wave.
हाँ, मतलब इससे पहले के नुकसान हो आपको अर्ली वार्न वो करना। ये नहीं है जैसे आपने पूछा कि एक रात पहले बता देंगे कि आज रात को बाहर सोइएगा। नहीं, मतलब it should not get misinterpreted because honestly speaking, across the world there is so far no scientific methodology developed to predict it as such.
245. दूसरा माइक दे दें।
सर, मैं डॉक्टर मीना कुमारी, राजस्थान पत्रिका से। सर, मेरा सवाल था कि जलवायु परिवर्तन की बात करें तो इस टाइम में सबसे चैलेंजिंग जो विषय है वो जलवायु परिवर्तन है, जिसमें कि एक ये होता है कि पूर्वानुमान की बात करें तो ये आता है कि बारिश 4-5 दिन के बाद में बारिश होगी और इस टाइम सूखा होगा, इस तरह की तो हमें बताया जाता है। लेकिन सडनली इस टाइम में जो देखें कि सडनली बारिश होती है कम टाइम में और एकदम बारिश होती है, तो इस तरह का अभी तक कोई पूर्वानुमान का बारे में कम ही जानकारी मिलती है। दूसरा मेरा एक ये जानना चाह रही थी सर कि जैसे मौसम विभाग इस टाइम की बात करें कि वो 5-10 या 15 दिन पहले भी बता देता है कि इस टाइम में बारिश होगी, इतनी बारिश होगी, लेकिन वहीं देशज ज्ञान की बात करें तो देश भर में चाहे कश्मीर से कन्याकुमारी, यदि वहाँ के किसी गृहिणी से भी बात करें, किसान से बात करें, तो वो अगले 6 महीने की भी बता देता था कि अगली जो इस टाइम में बारिश होगी और कितनी बारिश होगी, कैसे सूखा होगा, तो वो अपनी तैयारियाँ कर लेते थे। तो क्या जो देशज ज्ञान है उस पर भी किसी तरह का अभी तक कोई साइंटिफिक कोई स्टडी हुई है या फिर आगे होने के लिए भी इस पर कोई विचार है?
ओके नहीं, ऐसा नहीं है। पहले की तुलना में अगर आप देखिए हाउ डू यू अप्रिशिएट व्हाट इज हैपनिंग इज व्हेन यू कंपेयर इट। तो एक ज़माना था जब टेलीविज़न नहीं था, तो पत्रकार भी अब नई पीढ़ी के बैठे, पुराने पत्रकारों में ये बड़ा लतीफ़ा मशहूर हुआ करता था। तो सुबह 9 बजे और शाम को 7 बजे मौसम का हाल बोला जाता था रेडियो से। अब वो उनके ऊपर लाजिम होता था, अनिवार्य था। तो वहाँ जो अनाउंसर बैठी होती थी, अब उनके पास डिपार्टमेंट वाज वेरी प्रिमिटिव। मेट्रोलॉजिकल स्टेशन से सूचना आती थी, कभी पहुँचती थी कभी नहीं पहुँचती थी। लेकिन ये तो आप आज की चैनलों की तरह है नहीं कि कभी भी ब्रेकिंग कर दो। तो वहाँ एक निर्धारित समय होता था, सुबह 9 बजे आकाशवाणी ने बोला। तो वो एक उन्होंने तकिया कलाम रखा था कि अगले 24 घंटे में दूर दूर तक बारिश होगी, वैसे आम तौर पर मौसम खुश्क रहेगा। यानी हो भी जाए तो गलत ना हो। लेकिन अभी उसकी तुलना में 3 तरह के मैकेनिज़्म इन प्लेस है। नहीं, मैं आप पहले आप उसके बाद आप बताइएगा। एक लॉन्ग रेंज जिसमें 1 हफ्ते की करते हैं ऑलमोस्ट एवरी थर्सडे, एक शॉर्ट रेंज है वो भी है, और जो आप कह रही हैं नौ, एक नया शुरू की गई है प्रक्रिया जिसमें 3 घंटे की भविष्यवाणी की जाती है। अभी दिल्ली में इतना सक्षम नहीं हुआ, लेकिन जो हैवी मानसून जोन्स हैं मुंबई चेन्नई में, बल्कि अब मुंबई में तो ये हालत हो गई है कि घड़ी देख करके व्यक्ति बताता है कि छतरी लेके जाना है, बाहर के नहीं जाना, या रुक जाता है कि साहब इतने बजे तक बारिश रुक जाएगी उसके बाद जाएगी। मैं तो इनसे कह रहा था कि हम जिंगल प्रिपेयर करें टू एडवर्टाइज दैट। गृहिणी आके पूछती है कि आप छतरी ले जाइए, तो कहता नहीं भाग्यवान रुको आधे घंटे बाद जाऊँगा। तो नो, जस्ट टू मेक पीपल अवेयर, क्योंकि जो आप कह रही हैं आपका कहना ठीक है, जागरूकता की कमी है, लोगों को पता नहीं है। किसानों के लिए डेडिकेटेड हमारे पास व्हाट्सएप्स हैं, मेघदूत व्हाट्सएप, मौसम व्हाट्सएप, अनफॉर्चुनेटली कोई देखता नहीं है, सब कुछ इसमें है, ऐप्स है। तो उसमें हमें आपका भी सहयोग चाहिए होगा। नहीं, किसान की तैयारी के लिए है ना, आप अभी देखिए, शायद आपने भी नहीं देखा हुआ, डेडिकेटेड ऐप्स फॉर किसान है। रवि विल फर्दर एलैबोरेट। मेघदूत ऐप अलग है, मौसम ऐप अलग, 3-4 ऐप्स है। उसमें ये भी बताया जाता है कि आपकी बुहाई कब करनी है, कब कटाई का सीज़न होगा। और इफ़ यू क्रिएट एन इकोसिस्टम, उसके साथ सॉयल हेल्थ कार्ड भी जोड़ दें और सैटेलाइट इमेजेस भी जोड़ दें, तो आपको ये भी समझ आएगा कि कौन सा क्रॉप किस मिट्टी में कब लगाना है। लेकिन हो क्या रहा है कि वही मैंने कहा कि इसके बारे में जानकारी कम है, और जानकारी नहीं है इसकी भी जानकारी नहीं है। जैसे अंग्रेजी में कहते हैं देयर आर 2 सेट्स ऑफ पीपल, वन हु डोंट नो बट दे नो दैट दे हैव टू फाइंड आउट, अदर्स हु डोंट नो दैट दे डोंट नो। तो देयर इज अ सेकंड सेट ऑफ पीपल हु डोंट नो दैट दे डोंट नो, उनको ये भी नहीं मालूम कि इसकी जानकारी कहीं है। तो हम, आपका कहना ठीक है, आई थिंक दिस इज समथिंग दैट वी हैव टू इम्प्रूव ऑन, एंड इन फैक्ट आई हैव बीन इंसिस्टिंग। डॉक्टर महापात्रा इज ऑल्सो देयर, ही इज ऑल्सो वर्किंग ऑन दैट। इसका प्रचार प्रसार हमें और अधिक करना होगा। बाकी जहाँ तक दिल्ली राजधानी क्षेत्र का ताल्लुक है, यहाँ पर ऑटोमेटेड स्टेशंस दूसरे नए लगाने की प्रक्रिया जारी है। बिकॉज जब हम बात करते हैं कि साहब दिल्ली में प्रोडिक्शन कम हुई फोरकास्ट की, तो हम ये भूल जाते हैं कि आज का दिल्ली 25 साल पहले का दिल्ली नहीं है। अब हम सारे NCR को दिल्ली कहते हैं। तो कई बार क्या होता है कि आप यहाँ पर बैठकर प्रोडिक्शन करेंगे तो शायद नोएडा के लिए इतनी रेलिवेंट ना रहे। सो वी नीड टू हैव मोर नंबर ऑफ दोज व्हाट इज़ कॉल्ड AMT, ऑटोमेटेड मेट्रो स्टेशंस। डॉक्टर महापात्रा को भी दे दो थोड़ा माइक, सो दैट इट कम्स फ्रॉम द हॉर्सेज माउथ एंड गो स्ट्रेट टू राजस्थान पत्रिका। महापात्रा जी सुनाओ इनको थोड़ा हिंदी।
थैंक यू सर। यस, एज मिनिस्टर साहब ने बताया कि बहुत सारे ऐसे ही चुनौतियां हैं जो कि टाइम पर चेंज होता है, क्लाइमेट चेंज हो कि अर्बनाइजेशन हो। इसको देखकर मिनिस्टर ऑफ आर्ट्स साइंसेस इंडिया मेट्रोलॉजी डिपार्टमेंट में लगातार कंटिन्यूसली एनहांस कर रहे, अपग्रेड कर रहे मेट्रोलॉजिकल ऑब्जर्वेशनल सिस्टम्स, और इसके साथ साथ मॉडलिंग सिस्टम भी। जैसे कुछ दिन पहले हमारे ऑनरेबल मिनिस्टर साहब ने 6 किलोमीटर रिजोल्यूशन वाले मॉडल को भी इनाग्रेशन किए थे। और दिल्ली की बात करें तो लगभग 100 ऑटोमेटेड स्टेशन लगाए जा रहे हैं और 3 रडार भी लगाए जा रहे हैं, जो कि दिल्ली और NCR एरिया को कवर करेगा। ऑलरेडी हमारे पास 3 रडार है। सो इसमें जो दिल्ली का हाई रिजोल्यूशन ग्रैनुलर इंफॉर्मेशन जनरेट करना, डिटेक्ट करना और प्रेडिक्ट करने के लिए मदद मिलेगा।
किसानों के लिए थोड़ा सा बताएं ना आपको।
किसानों के लिए हमारा एक जो कोशिश है कि हर किसानों के पास हम कैसे पहुंच सकें, इसमें मोबाइल ऐप मेघदूत डेवलप हुआ है।
इसके अलावा SMS भी है।
इसके साथ SMS जा रहे हैं हर किसानों को, और हर विलेज में एटलीस्ट 5 किसानों को हम जोड़ने के लिए कोशिश कर रहे हैं व्हाट्सएप ग्रुप में। लाख्स ऑफ विलेजेस में हम भी पहुंच चुका है, सभी विलेज में पहुंचने के लिए कोशिश कर रहे हैं। इसके साथ स्टेट का जो लोकल मोबाइल ऐप है, इसमें भी किसानों का इन्फॉर्मेशन जा रहे हैं, DD किसान में जा रहे हैं, मास मीडिया में इसको इस्तेमाल भी कर रहे हैं। इससे बहुत सारे मल्टीप्रॉन्ग अप्रोच हम एडॉप्ट कर रहे हैं, जैसे कि हर किसानों के साथ हम जोड़ सकें। हम आप सभी से यही अनुरोध करेंगे कि हमारे जो सभी मोबाइल ऐप आए हैं, इसको आप यूटिलाइज करिए और लोगों पर पहुंचाने के लिए कोशिश करिए।
इसमें जो इम्प्रूवमेंट होने वाली है उसमें डॉक्टर रविचंद्रन भी बताएंगे फर्दर अपग्रेडेशन का जो काम।
No, as you know that this heavy rains predictability is very hard. It is only peculiar to tropics. That is why under the mission Mausam we are planning to go for more number of observations, especially radars. So we are planning to have hundreds of radars all over India.
ये जो आपका सवाल था उससे ये जुड़ता है।
So once we get the
heavy हो जाए,
once we get the radars in place in a year or so, we will be able to monitor all the weather systems without fail, because the cloud burst and other things we are not able to monitor as of now. So once the radar is in place, definitely we will be able to provide the nowcast as well as the forecast better.
थैंक यू। अभी 248 है, इस वाले फ्लैंक से भी एक लेते हैं, फिर हम आएंगे आप लोगों के पास आएंगे।
ये जो आप सवाल पूछ रही थी, क्लाउड बर्स्ट में उसकी रेलेवेंस होती है क्योंकि वो वहाँ पर कंडीशंस के ऊपर आधारित होता है, लेकिन ये जो सोफिस्टिकेटेड रडार मिशन मौसम से बात कर रहे हैं उससे दैट विल आल्सो बी टेकन केयर ऑफ।
इस सामने है, हाँ बताएं।
Sir, this is Kalyan from Deccan Herald. Sir, here. I just wanted to know, is there any plan to revise the scholarship amount for SRF and JRF? I think sometimes back we are told that this will be kind of periodic review of the amount of money they get under SRF and JRF scheme. So any plan to revise those amounts?
Abhay has all the purse strings.
No, I think currently there is no such plan currently. Yeah, but
No, don't close the window.
No, we are not closing. Actually, we are doing consultations with
नहीं,
the
आपका सुझाव
stakeholders.
ठीक है, उसमें समय के साथ साथ जैसे फाइनेंस वालों के साथ इनके चर्चा चल रही है, मशवरा परामर्श कि किस तरह से होगा। He says anything immediate, you mean not very immediate.
234।
Thank you. I am Srishti Chaudhary from CNN News 18. My first question is to Dr. Abhay. DST has a lot of programs to bring the Indian diaspora scientists to collaborate and come back. How have those schemes been faring? How successful have we been? And second question to Dr. Singh, again regarding Axiom Mission 4. So we had a lot of experiments which were shortlisted from various labs across the country. Considering that the mission is getting really postponed, how are we really ensuring that they remain viable? Like, what's the plan like to for those experiments? Thank you.
So, regarding the Indian diaspora, to bring back, actually, we had launched a Vaibhav Fellowship program that was launched, 2 years back, and under that program, we have done 2 calls. So last year, and these are like collaborative projects. So we invite the proposals from the Indian diaspora, which are located across any institutions abroad and who want to spend some time here and collaborate with the Indian scientists. So last year we had launched this program in 2023. Once we launched in 2024, a total of let me just check. I think total of about 40 Vaibhav fellowships we have so far offered. Yeah, so I think this was one of the programs. Now, the erstwhile Science and Engineering Research Board, SERB, was also running the Vajra fellowship programs, which were not just for the Indian diaspora, but inviting any, scientist from abroad and spend time. Now, that program, I think, has supported more than 100 such Vajra fellows, in the last few years. Of course, now with the Anusandhan National Research Foundations, we will be restructuring that program.
I think you are also working on further incentivizing options.
Yes. So
that also, to add to you, I mean,
so,
which may not be right to, or not be in a position to actually share now, but they are still working on some more incentivizing options as well. But I think it also requires to be now, at least at the personal level, whoever is going abroad, I ask them to plan out when they are coming back. So once a person has stayed there for 10, 15 years, raised a family, then in spite of all the incentivization given by the department, they are held back for other reasons, for the social reasons. The family comes, like for example, we had the case of an individual whom we had actually facilitated a few years ago, but when he wanted actually to shift, his family declined. And then he confessed to me. I said, no, I now understand. My children have never been to India. In fact, even for the holiday, they went some European destination. So most of those who go there for in capacity building should also be advised to devise a roadmap, also a timetable to come back, because the other factors take over. Now, as far as the Axiom-4 is concerned, of course, the experiments are in place. I don't think we have to be apprehensive. It's only the final launch date because the safety concerns, the other concerns, but we have, and it's very heartening that all the 4 astronauts have very good comradeship amongst themselves. The commander, Peggy, is a veteran, 65-year-old astronaut, and she commands the respect of all the other 3. And they all look up to her as a, very motivating seniors. So there's absolute understanding amongst all of them.